The hidden law moves unseen. It is not chance, nor luck, nor fate that shapes your tomorrow, but the silent blueprint written in the depths of your mind. You have been told that life is random, that blessings fall like rain upon some and not others. But I tell you now, there is no accident. There is a code, a secret rhythm, a divine pulse that answers to the frequency you carry within. Stay with me until the last word of this journey, and you will see what few ever dare to see. That reality itself is a servant to your inner command. That manifestation is not magic, but the law of life itself. Introduction. Welcome. Step across the threshold with me into a temple not built by hands, but carved in light, where ancient wisdom flows like a river through eternity. This is not a lecture, not a marketplace of techniques, but a pilgrimage inward, toward the hidden engine that turns thought into flesh, desire into form, and vision into destiny. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine. You stand before a door of obsidian, polished and still, a door that has been waiting for you since before your birth. Upon it, etched in gold, is a single truth. As within, so without. Push it open, and you enter the sanctum where manifestation is born. The world you see each morning is not the beginning. It is the echo, the reflection of a deeper script already written in your imagination, already rehearsed in the silent dialogue of your mind. Every conversation you replay, every fear you nurse, every dream you allow to bloom, they are bricks in the cathedral of your tomorrow. Manifestation is not a trick of positive thinking. It is not a fleeting wish, whispered and forgotten. It is the alignment of the inner and outer, the marriage of unseen spirit and visible form. It is law, as real as gravity, as precise as the orbit of stars. And yet, this law does not bow to words alone. You cannot chant abundance while secretly dwelling in lack. You cannot declare love while drowning in self-rejection. The universe does not hear what you say. It hears what you are. It answers to your state of being, to the vibration you carry, even in silence. Imagine your life as a grand film, each day a scene unfolding on the screen. The actors, the events, the circumstances, they appear real, but behind it all, in the unseen, is a projector. And the reel of that projector is your inner world. Change the reel, and the film must follow. Alter the story within, and the stage of life cannot resist. Here, in this sacred journey, you will be shown how manifestation actually works. Not the watered-down whispers of half-truths, but the living current of creation itself. You will learn to see thought as seed, emotion as water, and belief as sunlight. Together, they grow the harvest you walk into. This audiobook is not for passive listening. It is for awakening. With every word, you will be called to remember. You are the author, the sculptor, the architect of your world. The forces that seem to bind you, scarcity, delay, resistance, are but shadows on the wall. Step into the fire of awareness, and they dissolve. So breathe deeply now. Set aside doubt. For you are not here by accident. Something in you called this moment into being. You summon these words as confirmation of what you already know, that you were never powerless, never at the mercy of chance. You stand at the edge of revelation. And as this journey unfolds, you will not just hear the truth, you will feel it vibrate through your very being. And once felt, it cannot be forgotten. This is the path of manifestation. This is the law hidden in plain sight. And as you walk it, your life will never be the same again. Chapter 1. The Seed of Creation. The beginning of all manifestation is the seed of thought. Picture a silent garden at dawn, its soil damp with dew, awaiting the hand that will place within it the possibility of life. That garden is your consciousness, and every thought you dare to hold is a seed pressed into its depths. The mind does not question the seed, it does not argue, does not bargain, does not deny. It accepts whatever is planted with reverence and begins, in secret, to nourish it. If you sow despair, you will reap shadows. If you sow faith, you will reap golden light. The soil does not discriminate. It is impartial, sacred, eternal. The only question is, which seed will you allow to enter the earth of your imagination? Every vision you return to, every silent picture that lingers before sleep, every inner dialogue that replays again and again, these are seeds. And though you may not yet see their sprouts, the law of life declares, as surely as the seasons turn, the harvest will come. Most people imagine that manifestation begins with action, climbing ladders, making plans, pushing against the world until it bends. Yet the truth is older and more mysterious. Action is but the echo, not the origin. Imagine a film reel. What you see projected upon the screen is not created in the moment it appears. It was etched long before, frame by frame, in the unseen. The screen cannot invent. It only reveals what was already impressed upon the reel. Likewise, life does not create your circumstances at random. It only projects upon the screen of the world what you have already impressed upon the reel of imagination. If you see poverty, it is the reel of lack that was allowed to play. If you see abundance, it is because the inner frames were filled with plenty. Here lies the first secret. Do not waste your days fighting with the screen. The battle is never out there. The reel must be changed within. Consider the parable of a man who wandered into a dark hall of mirrors. At every turn, he saw distorted faces staring back, some stretched, some broken, some cruel. In anger, he struck the mirrors, shattering glass, cutting his hands, crying out at the cruelty of what he saw. But the more he struck, the more broken faces appeared. Only when he lit a candle and looked inward did he realize it was his own face reflected in every mirror. What he carried within determined what he saw without. So too it is with you. Manifestation is not about bending the mirrors of life by force. It is about carrying a face, a heart, a spirit within that reflects beauty, abundance, and certainty. Then the hall itself becomes luminous, and the reflections bow to the flame you bear. You may ask, how does the unseen seed move into form? The law is simple, though it appears veiled. The thought is planted, the emotion waters it, the belief gives it sunlight. When all three converge, the invisible begins to crystallize into the visible. Doubt is like frost. It stunts the growth before it can flower. Fear is like weeds. It strangles the tender shoots. But certainty, pure, unwavering certainty, is the divine gardener's hand. With it, time itself conspires in your favor. Synchronicities appear. People arrive at the exact moment. Doors open where once there were only walls. To the unknowing, it looks like luck. To the awakened, it is the inevitable harvest of a seed that was never abandoned. Here, then, is your first sacred practice. Tonight, before sleep, when the veil between the seen and unseen is thinnest, close your eyes and enter the garden of your mind. Do not rush. Let the soil settle. Then choose one seed, not many, one vision of a life you dare to call your own. Picture it in vivid detail, not as a wish, not as a far-off dream, but as though it were already yours. Feel it in your body, let it rise in your chest. Breathe as though you are living within it now. Whisper to yourself, "It is done." Return to that vision as you drift into sleep, and know that in the secret depths, roots are forming, unseen but unstoppable. You need not dig them up to check their progress. You need only tend them with faith until their blossoms break through the soil of time. For this is how manifestation actually works. The inner precedes the outer, the unseen sculpts the seen, and the seed you plant in silence today becomes the harvest you walk through tomorrow. You may not yet see the fruit, but the law has already been set in motion, and once set, it cannot fail. The only choice that remains is whether you will sow weeds or wheat, shadows or light, lack or abundance. You are the gardener, and your field is waiting. Chapter 2. The Hidden Mechanism of Belief. Manifestation begins with thought, yes, but thought alone is not enough. A passing daydream, a fleeting image, a casual wish. They are but clouds drifting across the sky, gone before they can shape the weather of your destiny. What gives thought its weight, its gravity, its creative force is belief. Belief is the alchemy that turns imagination into substance, whisper into decree, shadow into form. And yet, belief is not always conscious. Much of what you hold as truth has been pressed into you silently, through repetition, culture, family, memory. These hidden convictions form the architecture of your world. You walk through rooms built by them. You meet people drawn to them. You face circumstances that echo them. The universe is not testing you, nor punishing you. It is obeying the blueprint of your belief. What you truly accept as real, what you expect without effort, is what will unfold again and again until you choose to shift the foundation itself. Imagine for a moment a sculptor standing before a massive block of marble. The stone is mute, unformed, a raw possibility. The sculptor's chisel strikes again and again, not at random, but with a vision already alive within his mind. That vision is belief. Without it, the blows are meaningless. With it, the figure emerges as though summoned from eternity. Your life is no different. Every belief you hold is a chisel strike upon the marble of reality. If you believe in limitation, the marble remains confined, shaped into smallness. If you believe in abundance, the marble yields a statue of grandeur, a masterpiece of wealth and opportunity. The marble does not resist, it only yields to the image impressed upon it. And so, manifestation is less about effort and more about faith. The world is sculpted not by those who labor endlessly, but by those who dare to believe the unseen as though it were already finished. There is a story told of a woman who longed to be healed of her ailment. She visited doctors, swallowed medicines, prayed with trembling hands, yet her condition remained. One evening, weary with despair, she sat quietly and asked herself, "What if I were already whole?" For a moment she felt it, not as hope, but as certainty. She rose the next morning and walked as though her body had remembered its original design. To her astonishment, improvement followed, then complete restoration. The shift did not begin in her cells, but in her conviction. Her belief spoke louder than her fear, and her body obeyed. This is how manifestation moves. Through the hidden corridors of belief, reshaping even flesh and bone. And though skeptics call it coincidence, the awakened know it as law. But here lies the mystery. You cannot simply chant new beliefs into being while secretly clutching the old ones. Words without state are like empty vessels. They carry no weight. To believe is to inhabit. To believe is to embody. If you say, "I am wealthy," but in your secret hours feel the ache of lack, then your true belief is revealed, and the universe answers to that. Yet if you dare to walk as though your desire were already fulfilled, if you dare to feel its warmth in your chest, its rhythm in your breath, its certainty in your step, then belief begins to shift, slowly at first, like a great wheel turning. Then swiftly, with unstoppable momentum. The outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match the inner decree. For life is a mirror, and belief is the face it reflects. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, sit in stillness and write down a belief you have carried that no longer serves you. Perhaps it is the whisper that you are unworthy, or the shadow that says, "Abundance is for others, but not for you." Do not hide from it. Bring it into the open. Then, beside it, write a new belief, not as a wish, but as a statement carved in stone. I am the living proof of abundance. I am the chosen vessel of prosperity. I am the architect of my wealth. Now close your eyes and breathe deeply. Picture yourself living from this belief, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Let your imagination craft the scenes. Let your heart feel the joy. Let your body relax into the certainty. And as you do, the marble of reality will begin to shift. You may not see it instantly, but the chisel has struck. The figure is emerging, and soon the world will unveil the masterpiece your belief has summoned. This is how manifestation actually works. It is not about convincing the universe to give you what you ask for. It is about convincing yourself that it is already yours. Once you inhabit that state, the world obeys. Belief is the invisible engine behind every miracle, every fortune, every transformation. And once you master it, you will walk through life not as a beggar of chance, but as a creator of destiny. Chapter 3. The Power of Imagination. Imagination is not a toy of the mind. It is the womb of creation itself. Every empire, every invention, every revolution of art or science was once a shadow image in the theater of someone's imagination. What you see as solid, the skyscraper, the ship, the symphony, was first nothing but a silent picture rehearsed in the unseen. And yet, most wander through life dismissing imagination as fantasy, as child's play, as daydreams that have no weight. But I tell you this, imagination is the sacred workshop of the universe. It is the rehearsal hall where the invisible dons its costume before stepping onto the stage of reality. To neglect imagination is to abandon your creative throne. To cultivate it is to wield the most divine power entrusted to human hands. Think of the painter before the blank canvas. The room is silent, the brush unmoved, the canvas untouched. Yet in the painter's inner vision, entire worlds are already alive. Skies blazing with color, faces that carry stories, landscapes drenched in light. Before the first stroke of paint, the masterpiece exists, real, detailed, undeniable within. The outer act of painting is not the creation itself, but the unveiling of what imagination had already birthed. So too it is with your life. You are the painter, The brush is your belief, the canvas is the world. The true creation happens in the studio of your imagination, and reality merely reveals what was already sketched in secret. The tragedy of the unconscious is that they allow their imagination to be ruled by fear, replaying worst-case scenarios, building silent catastrophes that later arrive clothed as circumstance. But the awakened know, what you dare to imagine with feeling, you summon with certainty. Consider the parable of a young boy who longed for freedom from the poverty that clung to his family. Each night before sleep, he would close his eyes and walk in a mansion of his own design. He felt his hand brushing against golden railings, his feet pressing into velvet carpets. He breathed the fragrance of gardens that had not yet been planted. To others, he was a dreamer. To himself, he was a dweller in a house already built. Years later, with no clear path but guided by invisible hands, he found his feet crossing the threshold of the very home he had imagined as a child. Brick for brick, room for room, it matched the silent mansion of his nightly vision. This is not myth, it is law. Imagination is not a passive indulgence, but a creative act. What you consistently dwell upon in the inner world crystallizes, piece by piece, into the outer. And yet, imagination must be married to feeling. To picture riches while secretly feeling lack is to sow discord. The seed rots before it grows. But to imagine with emotion, to feel the joy, the relief, the certainty of your desire, as though it were already here, that is the spark that sets the alchemy in motion. The universe responds not to hollow images, but to the vibration of embodied vision. If you picture yourself in abundance and let your heart swell as though the treasure were already in your hands, the unseen begins to conspire. People appear, opportunities align, circumstances bend, not because you forced them, but because you have already rehearsed their arrival in the sanctum of imagination. Reality must follow where the heart has already gone. So here is your sacred practice. Tonight, when the veil of sleep begins to draw near, do not drift aimlessly into unconscious slumber. Instead, choose one scene, a simple, vivid snapshot of your desire fulfilled. It may be the moment you hold the keys to your new home, or the embrace of a love returned, or the smile as you sign a contract that changes everything. See it clearly. But more than that, feel it. Let it play again and again in your imagination until it carries the texture of reality. Let your body relax into it as though you were already living it. And as you slip into sleep, let that scene be the final imprint upon your mind. This is the sacred doorway, the state of sleep, where imagination seeps into the depths of the subconscious, commanding reality to obey. Do this faithfully, and watch as the outer world begins to echo the inner rehearsal. This is how manifestation actually works, not through frantic effort, not through chasing shadows, but through the mastery of imagination, the silent theater where tomorrow is written today. You hold the brush, you hold the script, you hold the keys to the unseen kingdom. Dare to imagine, dare to feel, and dare to live as though it were already done. For in truth, it is already finished. And when you know this, reality will bow, and the world will reveal what your imagination decreed long ago. Chapter 4. The Language of Feeling. Thought plants the seed. Belief gives it root. Imagination shapes its form. Yet there is a force even more primal, more decisive than all of these, the language of feeling. Feeling is the vibration that announces to the universe who you are in this very moment. Words may deceive, thoughts may waver, but feeling never lies. The universe is fluent in one tongue, and that tongue is the emotional frequency you radiate. If you declare prosperity while trembling with fear of lack, the vibration of lack is the message sent out, and it is lack that returns to you. If you speak of love while carrying resentment like a stone in your chest, it is resentment the world mirrors back. The great secret is this: manifestation does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you are. And what you are, in truth, is the state you feel in your bones, in your breath, in the silence between words. Think of life as a grand symphony. Every thought is a note, every belief a chord, every image a motif. Yet it is feeling that gives the music its power, its resonance, its ability to stir the heavens. A note without feeling is a hollow sound. It cannot move the soul. Likewise, a thought without feeling cannot move reality. But when thought and feeling harmonize, when the vision is clothed in emotion so tangible that your heart beats faster, your body warms, your breath deepens, then the music becomes irresistible. Reality itself begins to dance to its rhythm. Circumstances shift, not because you beg them to, but because the symphony of your state has called them into being. There is a story of a man imprisoned unjustly, his freedom stolen, his hope fading with each passing year. Many would have surrendered to despair, but this man chose another path. Each day, in the silence of his cell, he closed his eyes and felt himself walking freely under the open sky. He breathed the scent of grass, heard the laughter of children, felt the warmth of sunlight on his face. These were not idle dreams, but feelings so real that his body trembled with joy each time. Months passed, then years, and one morning the prison doors opened by an unexpected turn of events. He stepped out into the very freedom he had rehearsed. It was not chance, not accident, but the inevitable response of reality to the vibration he sustained. This is the language of feeling. It speaks where words cannot, and it commands where effort fails. Yet many confuse feeling with fleeting emotion. They chase temporary highs, hoping these will manifest their desires. But true feeling is deeper than a mood. It is a state of being, a dwelling place of the soul. You may experience fear and still choose to return to the state of peace. You may taste doubt and still realign with certainty. The practice is not to deny emotion, but to anchor yourself in the feeling that corresponds with your desired reality. To manifest love, anchor in the warmth of already being cherished. To manifest abundance, dwell in the ease of already being provided for. Do not wait for evidence to feel it, and the evidence must come. This is not superstition, it is law. The inner state always precedes the outer event. So here is your sacred practice. Throughout your day, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not what am I saying, not what am I thinking, but what frequency is humming beneath my skin. If it is fear, gently shift. Close your eyes and breathe. Call up the memory of a moment when you felt safe or joyful or abundant. Let that memory flood your body until the vibration shifts. Then, in that elevated state, return to the vision of your desire. Imagine it from within the feeling of its fulfillment. Let gratitude rise, not as a performance, but as a genuine recognition. It is already mine. Practice this again and again until the feeling becomes natural, until it is no longer a performance, but your dwelling place. When that happens, manifestation ceases to be effort. It becomes inevitability. This is how manifestation actually works. It is not about chasing outcomes or forcing the world to yield. It is about embodying the feeling of the outcome as though it were already true. Once you hold that frequency steadily, the world must comply. For reality is nothing but the mirror of your inner state. And when your state is abundance, abundance will surround you. When your state is love, love will pursue you. When your state is freedom, freedom will break your chains. Chapter 5. The Law of Assumption. Manifestation obeys one law more faithfully than any other, the law of assumption. To assume is not to wish nor to hope, but to inhabit. It is to step fully into the inner reality of your desire as though it were already complete, and to live from that state until the world can no longer deny it. You have been taught to beg for blessings, to wait for signs, to chase after evidence before daring to believe. But the universe does not wait. It listens. And what it hears is not your pleading, but the state you carry when the curtain falls and the world cannot see you. If you secretly dwell in lack, the world obeys that assumption. If you dwell in abundance, even without a coin in your hand, the world begins to rearrange itself to reflect your wealth. The outer is only the echo. The inner is the decree. Imagine an actor preparing for a role. The costume is not yet worn, the stage not yet lit, the audience not yet gathered. But in the rehearsal hall, the actor breathes as the character, walks as the character, speaks as the character. Soon, the lines are no longer memorized, they are lived. When the curtain finally rises, the audience believes not because the actor pretended, but because he assumed the role so completely that no distinction remained. This is the secret of the law of assumption, to so embody your desired state that reality itself has no choice but to believe you. You are the actor, life is the stage, and your assumption is the role you choose to inhabit. The question is not whether the role is available, it is whether you dare to step into it. There is a tale of a merchant who dreamed of wealth but lived in fear of poverty. Each day he counted his coins with trembling hands, certain they would vanish. His words spoke of prosperity, but his assumption was always lack. The more he feared, the more his fortunes dwindled. Then came a day of desperation when he decided, I will no longer live as a beggar of fate. I am already wealthy, though my purse is light. He began to walk with new confidence, to give generously even from little, to sleep in the peace of one who trusts his abundance. Weeks passed, then months, and opportunities arose as though drawn to him by invisible cords. The same man who once clutched his coins in fear became a master of riches. What changed was not the world, it was the state he assumed. He stopped waiting to see wealth and began assuming he was already its embodiment. The outer followed the inner, as it always must. And yet, assumption is not a mask to be worn temporarily. It is not about pretending during the day while secretly collapsing into doubt at night. True assumption is persistence. It is the steady dwelling in the state until it becomes your natural home. Doubt may knock at the door, but you do not serve it tea. Fear may whisper in the night, but you do not answer. You remain in the house of your fulfilled desire, knowing that the world must, in time, align with the reality you have chosen within. This persistence is not effort but relaxation, not strain but surrender. You release the burden of when and how, and you rest in the knowing that it is already done. For the seed does not struggle to grow, it simply unfolds according to its nature. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, choose one desire that burns brightest within you. Close your eyes and let yourself enter the scene of its fulfillment. Do not watch it as though it were a film. You must live within it. Feel the weight of the keys in your hand, the warmth of your lover's embrace, the sound of your name spoken in honor. Let every sense be engaged until the scene is alive. Then, most importantly, assume the state as natural. Do not strain to believe. Simply rest in it as though it were the most ordinary truth. When you rise from this exercise, carry the residue of that state with you. Walk through your day tomorrow as though the desire were already complete. And if doubt appears, return to the scene, return to the state, return to the assumption. For the law is faithful, the world cannot resist the inner decree. This is how manifestation actually works. It does not wait for evidence, it creates it. It does not respond to wishes, it responds to assumptions. You are not a victim of circumstance, but the silent author of it. Assume wisely, assume persistently, assume boldly, and life will mirror back to you the role you have chosen to play. For in truth, reality is but the stage, and you are both actor and playwright. Chapter 6. The Mirror of Reality. Reality is not a solid wall pressing against you, it is a mirror reflecting you. Most mistake the reflection for the cause, fighting the glass as though it were the origin of their troubles. But the wise know, the mirror cannot change until the face before it changes. What you see in the world around you is not random, not accident, not fate. It is the echo of your inner state. If you dwell in bitterness, the world reflects hostility. If you dwell in joy, the world brightens to meet you. Life does not ask what you want, it reveals who you are. Every conversation, every circumstance, every chance encounter is the surface of a mirror showing you the image you project. To transform life, you must stop wrestling with the reflection and begin sculpting the source, your inner being. Imagine standing before a lake at dawn. The waters are calm, a flawless mirror of the sky above. Then you hurl a stone into it, and the ripples distort the image. You cannot scold the water for failing to reflect perfectly. You must allow it to still again. So it is with your mind. When your thoughts are scattered, your beliefs fractured, your feelings storm-tossed, the mirror of reality reflects confusion. But when you still the waters, when you inhabit clarity, certainty, and peace, the mirror reveals beauty. The secret is not to chase the image, but to master the state. The lake cannot resist reflecting the sky. The world cannot resist reflecting you. There is a story of a young woman who longed for love. Everywhere she turned, she saw rejection, betrayal, abandonment. She cried out against the cruelty of men, against the coldness of fate. Yet in her secret heart, she carried the belief that she was unworthy of devotion. Her assumption was abandonment, and the mirror of life obeyed. Then, one day, she grew weary of her own reflection. She began to imagine herself cherished, worthy, chosen. She dwelt in the feeling of already being adored. At first, nothing seemed to change, but the mirror cannot resist forever. Soon, her circle shifted. She attracted new friendships, deeper bonds, and eventually a partner who reflected her new state back with tenderness. The world had not changed by accident, it had only mirrored her transformation. This is how the law works. It does not bring what you ask for, it brings who you are. And yet, many resist this truth because it demands responsibility. It is easier to blame circumstance than to confront the mirror. But avoidance does not change the reflection. Life will faithfully echo your inner state until you dare to shift it. The mirror does not lie, but it is merciful. It always shows you where your work island. If you see lack, it is a call to assume abundance. If you see betrayal, it is a call to embody trust and worthiness. If you see delay, it is a call to rest in certainty. The reflection is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Once you accept this, the mirror becomes your ally, guiding you home to yourself. Here is your sacred practice. Choose one area of your life where the reflection disturbs you. Perhaps it is money, perhaps it is relationships, perhaps it is health. Write down what you see reflected, honestly, without judgment. Then, close your eyes and imagine the mirror cleared. Ask yourself, what inner state would produce the reflection I desire? If you crave abundance, the inner state may be security, joy, generosity. If you crave love, the inner state may be worthiness, warmth, wholeness. Step into that state now. Feel it in your chest, your breath, your bones. Then, for the rest of your day, carry yourself as though the mirror had already changed. Do not wait for the reflection to confirm it. Hold the state, and the reflection must follow. This is how manifestation actually works. Reality is not a master commanding you, it is a servant obeying you. The world does not decide, it reflects. You are not at the mercy of the mirror is at the mercy of you. When you change the face you present, the reflection has no choice. Shift within, and life without must bow. Chapter 7. The Rhythm of Persistence. There is a rhythm to manifestation, a silent drumbeat beneath all creation. Many plant seeds in the soil of imagination, but abandon them before the roots take hold. They dream brightly for a week, whisper affirmations for a season, then despair when the harvest has not yet broken through the surface. But the universe is not mocked. The law of persistence governs all. You cannot dig up a seed each morning to check its progress and still expect fruit. You must water it with patience, clothe it with certainty, and persist in the unseen until the seen has no choice but to yield. Persistence is not strain, not effort, not desperate repetition. It is quiet loyalty to the state assumed, a steady heartbeat that does not falter when the outer world appears unmoved. Think of the sculptor again, chiseling the block of marble. At first, each strike seems meaningless, shards falling, dust rising, but no figure revealed. Days pass, then weeks, then months, and still the form is hidden. Yet the sculptor does not abandon his vision, for he knows that every stroke weakens the stone's resistance. Persistence is not glamorous, it is daily faith. Then one morning, with a final strike, the marble yields, and the figure long hidden within emerges radiant and whole. The world marvels at the sudden miracle, not knowing the patient persistence that gave it birth. So it is with manifestation. The sudden arrival of wealth, health, or love is never sudden. It is the unveiling of what persistence had already secured in the unseen. There is a parable of a farmer who planted 2 fields, one of wheat, one of thorns. He watered both equally, tended both with care. When the harvest came, he wept at the abundance of thorns and blamed the soil. Yet the soil was innocent. It only yielded what had been sown persistently. Life, too, is such a field. It will yield exactly what you persist in dwelling upon, whether wheat or thorn, treasure or shadow. Do not curse the soil when it only obeyed the seed you insisted on feeding. Choose instead to sow with wisdom and persist only in that which you desire to reap. For the law does not fail. It reflects persistence with precision. Persistence also means ignoring appearances. The mirror of reality often lags behind the transformation within. You may assume wealth but still see unpaid bills. You may assume love but still feel the echo of loneliness. Do not abandon the state. Appearances are but fading shadows, the final convulsions of the old story dissolving. If you persist, the new state must replace the old, just as night yields to dawn, no matter how long the darkness lingers. Do not curse the night. Tend your flame, and the sun will rise. Here is your sacred practice. Choose one desire that you have doubted because evidence has delayed. Tonight, enter the scene of its fulfillment once again. Feel it, assume it, embody it as if already complete. Then make a covenant with yourself. I will persist in this state no matter what the mirror shows. For 7 days, return to this inner vision before sleep, unwavering, unshaken. If doubt arises, gently return. If fear whispers, gently return. Let persistence be your anchor. At the end of 7 days, watch how the outer world begins to bend, perhaps subtly at first, then undeniably. For persistence is the rhythm of creation, and the universe cannot resist its steady drum. This is how manifestation actually works. Not through frantic effort, not through fleeting bursts of inspiration, but through the quiet power of persistence. To persist is to trust the seed, to honor the law, to remain faithful to the unseen until the seen surrenders. And once you master persistence, you will find that nothing is impossible, for reality itself must bow to the rhythm you sustain. Chapter 8. The Bridge of Faith. Faith is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the unseen span you walk across when there is no evidence beneath your feet, when the world still whispers, impossible, and yet something in you whispers louder. It is done. Faith is not blind optimism. Faith is not fragile hope. Faith is sight without eyes, proof without papers, solidity without substance. It is the assurance that the seed you have planted must bloom, even when the soil looks barren. Faith is the invisible contract with the universe that says, though nothing appears, I walk as though everything is here. And reality, bound by law, must obey that walk. Imagine a traveler at the edge of a great canyon. On one side stands the life he has known, familiar, small, marked by limitation. On the other side waits the life of his desire, abundant, free, overflowing with possibility. Between the two yawns a chasm, wide and impassable. To the senses there is no path. But within, the traveler feels a quiet call. Step forward. He cannot see the bridge, yet as his foot moves, stone rises to meet it. One step, then another, and the invisible becomes visible beneath him. This is faith. You do not wait to see the bridge. You walk, and the bridge reveals itself. Manifestation is no different. The world will not show you evidence until you move in faith. But once you move, evidence blossoms beneath your every step. There is a story told of a woman in a famine-stricken land. Her family was starving, her pantry bare. Yet each evening she lit a candle and set the table as though a feast were coming. She told her children, "Food is on its way. Tonight we dine." They laughed at her foolishness, but she persisted. One night, a knock came at the door. A caravan, lost and seeking shelter, bearing supplies of grain and fruit. The family ate not because chance had smiled, but because faith had prepared the table. Faith does not wait for the feast to arrive before setting the table. Faith sets the table, and the feast arrives. This is the bridge: preparation in the unseen, certainty in the face of emptiness, action that reflects belief rather than doubt. Yet many misunderstand faith, thinking it means forcing themselves to believe without evidence. But true faith is not force, it is surrender. It is the quiet resting in the truth that what you desire already exists in the unseen and is moving toward you. Faith is not loud declarations shouted to mask fear. Faith is the calm pulse in your chest that says, "It is already mine." You will know you are in faith when peace replaces striving, when joy rises without reason, when you find yourself smiling at what the senses cannot yet confirm. This state is magnetic. It draws the unseen into the seen with a speed that astonishes the mind. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, choose one desire you have hesitated to trust. Instead of asking, instead of begging, prepare. If it is wealth, set aside a corner of your mind or even your room for the symbols of abundance. Arrange your desk as though contracts and opportunities were already flowing. If it is love, create space in your heart, even in your home, for the presence of another. If it is health, rise from your chair and walk as though strength had already returned to your body. Do not wait for the evidence. Live in the evidence of faith. For every small act of preparation is a stone laid upon the invisible bridge, and soon the bridge will carry you across. This is how manifestation actually works. The world does not respond to hesitation. It responds to faith. Life waits for you to move, to act, to prepare as though the desire were already finished. And when you do, the invisible rearranges itself in your favor. Faith is the bridge, and once you dare to walk it, you will find that the impossible was only an illusion, and the other side was waiting for you all along. Chapter 9. The Surrender of Control. There comes a moment on the path of manifestation when effort must fall silent. Many struggle endlessly, clutching their desires with anxious fists, trying to bend reality through willpower alone. They repeat affirmations with tight jaws, visualize with restless hearts, and pray while secretly fearing silence will be the only answer. Yet manifestation does not obey desperation, it obeys surrender. Surrender is not defeat, nor is it laziness. It is the holy art of releasing the burden of how and when your desire will arrive while remaining anchored in the certainty that it must arrive. To surrender is to plant the seed and step back, knowing the soil will do its work. It is to breathe deeply and trust that the law is faithful, that the unseen has already conspired in your favor. Imagine a river winding its way through valleys and mountains. The water does not strain to find its path. It does not argue with the rocks, nor does it demand that the mountain lower itself. The river flows, persistent yet surrendered, trusting that every obstacle will either be eroded, circled, or dissolved in time. So too it is with manifestation. When you surrender, you become like the river, unyielding in direction, but soft in trust. Obstacles may appear, but they are no threat, for the current is stronger than the stone. Surrender is the current of life itself, carrying you toward your destiny, if only you allow yourself to float rather than thrash. There is a parable of a fisherman who cast his net night after night without catching a single fish. Exhausted, he decided to abandon his craft. But before leaving the shore, he whispered, "I release this struggle. If abundance wishes to come, let it come by its own tide." That night he fell asleep by the water, his net forgotten. At dawn he awoke to the sound of waves heavy with movement. His net, left drifting in surrender, had filled itself with more fish than he had ever caught before. He wept, not from effort, but from the mercy of release. The truth is this: when the grip loosens, the flow begins. What you chase in fear runs from you. What you release in trust returns to you multiplied. Surrender requires faith in the unseen order of things. It is to know that there is a wisdom higher than your planning, a timing more perfect than your scheduling, a choreography more intricate than your striving. When you demand that life deliver in your way, you close the door to miracles. But when you surrender, you leave the door wide open for the infinite intelligence of the universe to move. And it always moves in ways more beautiful, more surprising, more generous than anything your mind could have conceived. Your role is not to force the orchestration, but to hold the state, to live in the feeling of completion, and then to step aside while the symphony arranges itself. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, sit with your desire, not as a beggar clinging to a wish, but as a master, releasing what is already finished. Speak these words softly. I release the when, I release the how, I trust that it is done. Feel the burden lift from your shoulders, breathe into the spaciousness of surrender. Then imagine yourself floating gently in a river of light. You are carried, not by your effort, but by the current of the unseen. Every bend, every wave, every ripple is moving you closer to the shore of your desire. Let yourself drift, let yourself trust, let yourself rest. For surrender is not the end of creation, it is the final seal upon it. This is how manifestation actually works. The law does not require you to strain, to beg, or to prove yourself worthy. It requires only that you assume the state, feel it as real, and then surrender the outcome. When you do, life rushes in to meet you. Control is heavy, surrender is light, and it is lightness that lifts you into the fulfillment of your desire. Chapter 10. The Frequency of Gratitude. Gratitude is more than polite words whispered before a meal or scribbled in a journal. Gratitude is a frequency, a vibration that aligns you instantly with abundance. It is the recognition that the treasure has already been given, even when the senses have yet to confirm it. Gratitude is the fragrance of completion, the song of the fulfilled, the energy of one who knows the harvest is already here. To dwell in gratitude is to declare to the universe, I already have, therefore more is drawn unto me. And the universe, faithful to the law, cannot resist pouring more upon those who already radiate thanks. Picture a tuning fork struck in the stillness of a room. The sound rings out, and another fork nearby begins to hum in resonance, though it was never touched. So too does gratitude resonate with abundance. When you dwell in lack, you strike the fork of scarcity, and scarcity vibrates back to you. But when you dwell in gratitude, you strike the fork of plenty, and plenty resounds through your life. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain or pretending life is perfect. It is about tuning yourself to the vibration of what you wish to live in. For even in the darkest night, there is always one star to thank, and in thanking it, you summon the dawn. There is a story told of a man who lived in constant poverty. Each morning he cursed his fate, each evening he counted his losses. One day an elder visited him and placed a loaf of bread in his hands. "Give thanks," the elder said. The man scoffed, "How could one loaf cure years of misery?" But reluctantly, he whispered, "Thank you." That night, he tasted the bread slowly, savoring each bite, his heart softening with gratitude. The next morning, he found coins on his doorstep. The day after, a neighbor offered him work. Soon his fortune began to grow, not because the bread was magical, but because gratitude had shifted his state. He ceased vibrating lack and began vibrating plenty, and life had no choice but to mirror it. This is the secret. Gratitude opens the gates of abundance because it is the frequency of abundance itself. Gratitude must also be extended to the unseen. Many give thanks only when the evidence appears. They thank the harvest once the fruit is in hand, but rarely thank the seed when it lies hidden beneath the soil. Yet the true magician of manifestation thanks before the bloom. They rise in the morning and give thanks for the home not yet built, the love not yet visible, the wealth not yet counted. They thank as though it were already theirs, and in doing so, they declare to the universe, I am already complete. The outer must then rush to confirm the inner, for the mirror has no choice but to reflect the state sustained. Gratitude before evidence is the greatest proof of faith. It is not pretending, it is knowing. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, write down 10 things you are grateful for. Not only those you already see, but those you desire as though they were already yours. Begin each with the words, I am thankful that, and complete it with your vision. I am thankful that abundance flows effortlessly into my life. I am thankful that love surrounds me in every moment. I am thankful that my body radiates health and strength. As you write, do not treat these as hollow affirmations. Let your heart swell with the feeling that they are already complete. Then, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and whisper softly, Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let the words vibrate through your body until gratitude becomes not a practice, but your natural state. This is how manifestation actually works. The universe does not wait to reward you until you are grateful. It responds to the gratitude you already carry. Gratitude is the signal, the beacon, the frequency that calls more of itself into being. The ungrateful remain blind to abundance even when surrounded by it. The grateful multiply their treasure even when starting with little. Gratitude is not the result of manifestation, it is its engine. And once you master its frequency, you will find that life itself becomes a feast without end. Chapter 11. The Alignment of Desire. Desire is not an enemy to be silenced, nor a flaw to be purged. Desire is the pulse of creation moving through you. It is the whisper of the infinite seeking expression in the finite. Every longing in your heart, whether for love, for wealth, for freedom, or for purpose, is not a random craving, but a signal of the life already waiting for you. Too long have you been told to suppress desire, to mistrust it, to call it selfish. Yet without desire, the universe would stand still. A seed desires to grow into a tree. The river desires to reach the ocean. The star desires to burn. Desire is the holy spark that calls the unseen into the seen. To deny it is to deny the very current of life. Yet desire must be aligned, for many cling to longing like beggars clutching empty bowls. They speak of what they want while secretly vibrating with lack. Their desire becomes hunger, not creation, absence, not abundance. Aligned desire is different. Aligned desire is not desperate, it is certain. It is the recognition that if you feel a true desire within you, it is because that reality already exists and you are being drawn toward it. The desire itself is evidence that its fulfillment is possible, for the universe does not mock you with visions it cannot deliver. Aligned desire rests in knowing, if I desire it, I am already one with it. Imagine a compass needle trembling toward the north. The traveler may not see the destination, but the needle proves its existence. So too is desire the compass of your soul. It points you toward the reality already prepared for you. To mistrust it is to wander aimlessly. To honor it is to walk the straight path home. Consider the story of a young musician who longed to fill concert halls with his music. In his small village, he was mocked for dreaming too high, but his desire would not let him go. It hummed in his chest like a sacred chord. He aligned with it, practicing daily, imagining himself on great stages, feeling the applause before he ever heard it. Years later, the world knew his name, not because he fought against his desire, but because he surrendered to it, aligned with it, trusted it. His longing was not vanity, it was prophecy. And yet, the alignment of desire requires purification. Many confuse shallow cravings with true soul longings. A craving born of fear, competition, or envy will lead only to emptiness, for it is not aligned with your essence. True desire feels expansive, luminous, life-giving. It excites you and calms you at once. It is not the grasping of ego, but the call of the infinite through your heart. When you honor these true desires, you align yourself with the current of destiny. The world may call you unrealistic, but the universe calls you faithful. For creation itself waits on those who dare to trust their truest desires. Here is your sacred practice. Sit in stillness and place your hand upon your heart. Ask softly, what do I truly desire? Let the question sink beneath the noise of the mind. Do not rush the answer. It may come as an image, a whisper, a feeling rising in your chest. When it comes, honor it. Write it down, not as a wish, but as a decree. This is the life I am already aligned with. Then, close your eyes and imagine living from that desire fulfilled. Feel the warmth, the ease, the certainty. As you breathe, whisper, if I desire it, I am one with it. Repeat until the longing no longer feels like distance but like closeness, until desire itself becomes fulfillment. For aligned desire does not ache, it sings. This is how manifestation actually works. Desire is not a trick or a trap. It is the signal of your higher self calling you forward. When you align with it, believe it, and live in its frequency, the unseen moves mountains to bring it forth. You do not chase desire, you embody it. And when you do, the reflection of life must yield to the image you hold within. For the law is eternal. What you truly and faithfully desire is already yours, waiting only for your alignment to bring it into view. Chapter 12. The Secret of States. Every human being lives not in a world, but in a state. Your state is the invisible atmosphere you carry, the cloak you wear even when no words are spoken. Two people may stand in the same city, breathe the same air, walk the same streets, and yet one will meet fortune at every corner while the other collides with misfortune. Why? Because they inhabit different states. A state is not just mood, it is the sum of your assumptions, your beliefs, your feelings, your inner posture toward life. And life does not answer to the surface of your words, it answers to the state you dwell in most persistently. Think of states as rooms in a vast palace. One room is the state of abundance, another of scarcity. One room is love fulfilled, another is loneliness. One is peace, another is turmoil. You may wander from one room to another without even realizing it, carried by thought and feeling. And the strange thing is this: whichever room you occupy feels like the only reality. When you dwell in fear, the palace of fear seems like the whole world. When you step into love, the palace of love appears to have been waiting for you all along. The truth is, reality does not change. You change rooms, and reality mirrors the room you are in. There is a story of a merchant who complained that fortune always eluded him. He walked the streets, grumbling that luck belonged only to others. One evening, a sage told him, "Your state is poverty, and the world mirrors it. Enter the state of wealth, and fortune will greet you." The merchant scoffed. How could he enter wealth with no coin in hand? But that night, curious, he closed his eyes and imagined himself walking in the marketplace as a man of great means. He felt the weight of gold at his side, the respect in the eyes of others, the confidence in his step. He dwelt in that state until sleep took him. In the weeks that followed, small opportunities began to appear. A bargain here, a connection there, and soon his fortunes grew. It was not magic, it was state. He had changed rooms, and the palace of reality obeyed. States are magnetic fields. They draw circumstances, people, and events that harmonize with their frequency. If you remain in the state of rejection, you will encounter rejection again and again. If you remain in the state of love, the world cannot help but echo love back to you. This is why effort alone often fails. You may labor endlessly, but if your state contradicts your desire, life will mirror your state, not your effort. To manifest, you must shift states, not once, not briefly, but with persistence until the new state becomes your dwelling place. The outer cannot resist the inner. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, close your eyes and choose the state you wish to dwell in. Perhaps it is abundance, perhaps it is love, perhaps it is peace. Do not picture it as something far away. Step into it now. See yourself walking, speaking, breathing as one who already inhabits that state. Let the feeling saturate you until it feels natural. Then, tomorrow, carry yourself as though you had never left that room. When doubt comes, return inward, step back into the chosen state, and remain there. Do this again and again until the state becomes more familiar than your old dwelling. Soon, the palace of life will rearrange itself to mirror the room you have chosen within. This is how manifestation actually works. The world is not against you, it is only reflecting the state you carry. Change the state, and the reflection must follow. You are not trapped. You are free to walk the palace of infinite rooms, free to choose which atmosphere you inhabit, free to decree which reflection shall greet you tomorrow. And once you master states, you master creation itself. Chapter 13. The Silence Between Thoughts. There is a place where manifestation begins, and it is not in the noise of constant thought, but in the silence between them. Most people live entangled in an endless stream of chatter, worries, judgments, memories, plans. Their minds are like crowded marketplaces, every stall shouting for attention. And in that noise, the seed of creation struggles to take root. But when you slip into silence, when you still the storm for even a moment, you touch the eternal ground where reality is shaped. Silence is not emptiness. It is the fertile soil of being. It is the womb of manifestation. The ancient mystics knew this. That power does not rise from endless activity, but from the sacred pause. The tree does not grow by straining, the ocean does not roar by effort. All creation rests in the rhythm of silence and expression. Imagine the great composer seated before the piano. His masterpiece is not only the notes played, but the silence between them. Without silence, the music would be chaos. It is the pauses that give shape, the rests that give meaning, the spaces that make the melody possible. So too in life. Manifestation requires not only the energy of imagination, belief, and feeling, but the silence that allows them to crystallize. When you fill every corner of your mind with noise, you smother the very law you seek to activate. But when you create stillness, you allow the law to breathe, to move, to weave the unseen into the seen. The silence is not absence. It is power waiting to be called. There is a parable of a king who sought wisdom. He gathered philosophers, priests, and scholars, demanding answers to the mysteries of life. They filled his halls with words, yet his heart remained unsatisfied. One day, he wandered into a temple where a sage sat in stillness. "Tell me the secret of creation," the king demanded. The sage closed his eyes and said nothing. Minutes passed, then hours. At last, the king, frustrated, rose to leave. But as he stepped out, a great calm washed over him. In the silence, he heard what words could not speak, that the universe is born not from noise, but from stillness. The king returned to his throne, wiser than before, carrying the silence within him. His reign flourished, not because of speeches, but because he had found the space where wisdom is born. Silence also reveals the truth of your state. When the chatter ceases, you can feel what you truly believe. Many avoid silence because it exposes the vibration beneath their words. Yet this is the gift. In silence, you can shift the state. You can release fear, dissolve doubt, and step into alignment without distraction. The silence does not judge, it simply reflects. If you feel lack, it shows you. If you feel abundance, it amplifies you. It is the mirror of the soul, polished and clear. And once you master silence, you no longer fear it. You welcome it, for you know it is the workshop of creation. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, set aside 10 minutes for silence. Do not fill it with affirmations or questions. Simply sit, breathe, and allow thoughts to pass without clinging. As the noise settles, focus on one feeling, the fulfilled desire. Let it rise in the stillness, unforced, natural, steady. Do not chase it. Let it bloom. Then rest in the silence that follows, trusting that in the unseen, the seed has been planted. Do this daily, and you will notice the outer world begin to shift, not because of effort, but because silence itself has done the work. This is how manifestation actually works. It is not endless effort, not frantic thought, not restless repetition. It is the dance of silence and imagination, of pause and expression, of stillness and movement. When you enter the silence between thoughts, you touch the eternal current of creation, and from there, the law moves swiftly, faithfully, inevitably. Chapter 14. The Law of Reflection. All manifestation rests upon one eternal principle, as within, so without. The world you walk through is not a brute force of chaos, nor a cruel lottery of chance. It is a mirror, polished daily by your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions. Look around you now. The relationships, the finances, the opportunities, the obstacles, they are not random events, but reflections of the inner world you most persistently inhabit. This truth can feel heavy, for it removes the comfort of blame, but it is also liberating, for it gives you mastery. If the outer is only the reflection, then you are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are the author of it. To change the reflection, you do not smash the mirror. You change the face that stands before it. Consider standing in front of a great mirror with a frown etched across your brow. You may plead with the reflection to smile. You may scold it for its gloom. You may even paint over the glass. But nothing changes until you smile. The mirror cannot resist. It must echo you. So too is life. You may fight against scarcity, rage against betrayal, despair at rejection, but the outer only reflects the inner posture you carry. When you change the posture, the reflection shifts with it. This is not philosophy, it is law. The question is not, why does the world treat me so? But what am I radiating that the world reflects? There is a story of a traveler who came to a village and asked an elder, "What are the people like here?" The elder replied, "What were the people like where you came from?" The traveler sighed, "Cruel, selfish, dishonest." The elder nodded, "You will find them the same here." Later, another traveler asked the same question, "And what were the people like where you came from?" The second replied, "Kind, generous, warm." The elder smiled, "You will find them the same here." For the world is not as it is as you are. The village did not change, the reflection did. This story, simple as it may be, contains the entire secret of manifestation. Yet the mirror of reality has a delay. It does not always reflect instantly, for the old image may linger like smoke after fire. You may step into abundance within, yet still see shadows of lack without. This is where persistence is required. Do not mistake the fading echo for proof against the law. Hold the new state, and the mirror will soon clear. Just as clouds may veil the sun, but the sun has not vanished, so too the outer may resist for a time, but the inner is already shaping it. The mirror is faithful. It cannot withhold once the image within is steady. Here is your sacred practice. Today, treat every circumstance as a reflection, not a punishment. If something disturbs you, pause and ask, "What is this showing me about my inner state?" Do not condemn yourself, simply see. Then choose the new reflection. If lack appears, affirm inwardly, "I dwell in abundance." If conflict arises, affirm, "I dwell in peace." Then carry yourself as though the new reflection were already visible. Trust that the mirror will align. Tonight, before sleep, close your eyes and picture the mirror of life shining back at you with your desire fulfilled. See it clearly, then fall asleep in that vision. You will wake to a world already bending to your inner image. This is how manifestation actually works. Life does not resist you, it reflects you. The mirror is not cruel, it is precise. It is the most faithful servant you will ever know. And once you accept this law, you stop fighting shadows and begin sculpting light. You step out of victimhood and into mastery. For when you change within, the world cannot help but change without. Chapter 15. Living in the End. The greatest key of manifestation is this: you must live not as one waiting, but as one who already has. To wait is to affirm absence. To hope is to affirm distance. But to live in the end is to declare that your desire is complete, here, now, finished in the unseen. When you live in the end, you cease searching for signs, you cease begging for proof. You breathe, walk, speak, and rest as though the promise were already fulfilled. The law is clear. The end creates the means. When you dwell in the feeling of the end, life must construct the bridge that leads to it. The how is not your concern, the state island. And once you are anchored in the end, the world rushes to confirm what you already know. Imagine a playwright drafting the final act of a play. He does not begin with confusion, wandering, or unfinished threads. He writes the conclusion first, the triumph, the resolution, the finale. Then, and only then, he works backward, letting each scene fall into place to lead inevitably toward that end. So too must you be the playwright of your life. Begin with the end, the wealth already in hand, the love already embraced, the health already restored. Live from it, not toward it. When you dwell in that conclusion, life becomes the script that must align to deliver it. The actors, the scenes, the circumstances, these are details the universe orchestrates. Your role is only to remain in the certainty that the end is already written. There is a story of a man who longed to become a teacher, but was consumed with fear that no school would ever hire him. One evening, he decided to test the law. Instead of pleading for opportunity, he sat quietly and imagined the end. Standing in front of a classroom, chalk in hand, students listening intently. He felt the weight of the chalk, the hum of voices, the satisfaction in his chest. He repeated this scene nightly until it became real within him. Weeks later, without applying, he was approached by a friend who recommended him to a local academy. The door opened, not by chance, but by law. The end had written the means. He was not waiting to become a teacher. He had lived as one already, and the world obeyed. Living in the end is not pretending. Pretending is fragile, easily broken by the appearance of evidence. Pretending says, I hope this becomes true someday. But living in the end is resting in certainty. It does not flinch when appearances contradict it. It does not collapse when delay arises. It says, I know who I am, and the world must catch up. This state is magnetic. It draws the unseen into the seen, not by force, but by inevitability. The outer has no choice but to yield when the inner has already decreed completion. Here is your sacred practice. Tonight, choose one desire and picture, not the process of getting it, but the end already fulfilled. If you long for wealth, imagine yourself signing a contract, depositing the check, or celebrating the life it provides. If you long for love, imagine yourself in the embrace, the wedding, the quiet peace of companionship already established. If you long for health, imagine yourself walking freely, strong and vibrant, the struggle behind you. Make the scene short, vivid, and alive. Repeat it nightly until it feels less like imagination and more like memory. When you rise each day, carry yourself as though that end is already your reality. Speak from it, walk from it, rest in it. Soon, the bridge of life will rise to meet the state you have chosen within. This is how manifestation actually works. Life does not grant you what you chase, it grants you what you embody. The end writes the story, and the world is but the stage that performs it. When you live in the end, you are no longer a beggar of possibility. You are the author of inevitability. And once you learn this, no desire is too distant, no dream too bold, no vision too vast, for in truth, the end is already written. Conclusion: awakening the author within. You have now walked the hidden corridors of creation through seed and soil, through belief and imagination, through assumption, persistence, gratitude, silence, surrender, and the end. And if you have listened not only with your ears, but with your spirit, something in you has awakened. For manifestation is no longer a mystery. It is not magic, not luck, not a fragile ritual. It is the law of life itself, as within, so without. The outer world is but the mirror, and you are the source reflected. All along, you are not a beggar of chance, but the silent author of reality. To live unconsciously is to stumble through reflections without understanding. To awaken is to realize, I have always been the cause. I have always held the key. Now look at your life again, not with despair, not with blame, but with new eyes. Every circumstance you see is not a verdict against you, but a map showing the states you have inhabited. If scarcity lingers, it is only because you dwelt in lack. If love was delayed, it is because you rehearsed rejection. If peace seemed distant, it was because turmoil echoed within. But do not condemn yourself. The mirror was never meant to shame you. It was meant to teach you. And now that you know, you can choose differently. You can change the inner script, and the outer stage must rewrite itself. This is not theory. It is inevitability. Understand this. Every desire in your heart is evidence of its own possibility. You would not hunger if the feast were not already prepared. You would not thirst if the water did not already exist. The longing itself is the proof. And so, from this moment, never again dismiss your desires as impossible. They are not cruel tricks, they are invitations. Invitations from the infinite to step into alignment, to embody the state, to live in the end, and to persist until the reflection bows. Your desire is not something you chase, it is something you become. And once you become it, you cannot help but meet it in the outer world. There is a final parable. A wanderer spent years seeking a hidden treasure said to grant infinite wealth. He crossed mountains, braved deserts, searched every horizon. At last, weary and broken, he returned home, only to find the treasure buried beneath his very hearth. It had been with him all along, waiting only for him to stop searching outward and begin looking within. So it is with you. The treasure of manifestation was never outside. It was in your imagination, your belief, your assumption, your state. You were the magician you sought, the alchemist, the creator. And now, with this knowing, the treasure is yours to open. Here is your final sacred practice. Tonight, before you drift into sleep, lay your head upon your pillow as one who has already arrived. Choose one desire and step into the end of it as though it were the most ordinary truth. Feel it, breathe it, dwell in it. Then surrender, release the when and the how, and fall asleep in peace. Do this again and again until the state becomes natural, and life will have no choice but to mirror it. For this is the final seal upon manifestation, the union of imagination, feeling, and surrender into certainty. Once you live this way, you do not hope for miracles. You expect them because you know that life can only echo who you are. This is how manifestation actually works. You are not a victim, not a pawn, not a creature of chance. You are the author, the sculptor, the painter of the unseen. Every desire is possible, every dream within reach, every vision already alive in the eternal. The universe is not against you, it is with you, always responding, always faithful, always reflecting the state you dare to assume. So go forth now, not as one who wishes, but as one who knows. Live as though it is already done, and it shall be. If this journey has awakened something in you, let your voice echo back. Like this video if the words have stirred your soul. Leave a comment sharing the vision you now choose to embody so others may be inspired by your courage. And subscribe so that together we may continue walking this sacred path into more hidden laws, more timeless truths, more awakenings. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The mirror of reality now waits for you to show it who you truly are. Step forward, live in the end, and watch as life itself bends to the decree of your inner command.